A Detroit man is finally free tonight after spending more than 2.5 years under guardianship after being declared legally incapacitated.
Rodrick Gordon is deaf and blind, but that doesn't mean he needs to have a guardian in charge of every decision in his life.
7 investigator Heather Catallo has the stunning story of how proposed legislation can make sure something like this never happens again.
Guardianship has been called civil death because you lose the ability to make any decisions for yourself. Rodrick Gordon spent 2.5 years fighting his guardianship and in the process changed the rules in court for everyone in Michigan.
I've been living independent over 30 years.
Rodrick Gordon may be deaf-blind, but all you have to do is spend 5 minutes with him to know he is not mentally incapacitated. Do you consider yourself incapacitated?
No, absolutely not.
In his 20s and 30s, Rodrick became blind and deaf after complications from a brain tumor. But after training at the Helen Keller Center for the Deaf-Blind, he learned to use tactile American Sign Language to communicate. The problem is, no one properly communicated with him when his civil rights were on the line back in 2018. That's when Rodrick was assaulted outside his Detroit apartment. His lawyer says after he was released from the hospital, he no longer had the same in-home services that had previously helped him live independently. So an adult protective services worker filed a petition with the Wayne County Probate Court to place Rodrick under guardianship. Do you need a guardian?
No, that is saying that I do not have the capability to do a thing that I've been trained to do and to carry out my own personal life.
Before you're placed under guardianship, the judge appoints someone called a guardian ad litem to visit with you and explain your rights under the law. The guardian ad litem is usually a lawyer, but they're not your lawyer, and they're not a doctor, but they are there to report back to the judge about whether they think you are legally incapacitated. In Rodrick Gordon's case, his guardian ad litem did not have a deaf-blind interpreter with him and said in his report to the judge, the ward was not responsive when discussing guardianship and could not hear the nature and purpose of having a guardian.
It's really tragic.
Charlene Gordon, who is not related to Rodrick Gordon, is a vision rehabilitation therapist who has worked with Rodrick for years. What do you think about the failure to make sure he had the proper interpreters at the initial stages of this case?
It was a power move. That was a move by the professionals to say, we don't want you to know what's going on. We want to take control of this.
She's appalled Rodrick was placed under a guardianship and then moved to a group home against his will.
They said, oh, he's deaf-blind. We don't know how to help him coordinate services, so therefore they put him up under guardianship.
So Rodrick appealed the guardianship.
Because if these things can be done, it will happen to other people too.
Right now he's sitting in an adult foster care home with a corporation in charge of his life.
Michigan Elder Justice Initiative attorney Nicole Shannon argued Rodrick Gordon's case in front of the Michigan Court of Appeals and won. That set an important precedent.
It serves as case law for every guardianship case going forward across the state of Michigan.
Shannon says a key issue on appeal, the Wayne County Probate Court relied on a note from a doctor, even though the doctor also did not use an interpreter to properly communicate with Rodrick.
It was just error after error.
Shannon is on Michigan's Elder Abuse Task Force and says too often the courts rely on inadequate medical notes to declare people incapacitated. That will change under new legislation just introduced in the Michigan House and Senate.
So under the proposed legislation, we're going to require that it's typewritten to ensure that we know who wrote it, potentially have them come testify.
The new legislation also improves the rules that guardians ad litem have to follow.
It would focus on ensuring that guardians ad litem are giving the courts all the information that they really need and ensuring that the individual's rights are preserved. That's going to mean explaining how long they met with the person, because it's going to be important to know whether they talked with somebody for 5 minutes or for an hour.
After 2.5 years, the probate judge terminated Rodrick Gordon's guardianship in May. Now he wants others to know the laws must change.
I do want to see others who have the capability and are willing to continue their life to be given the correct chance of living independently and not to be just picked up and dumped into homes where they are not supposed to be.
A spokesman for Adult Protective Services said they can't legally discuss the specifics of Mr. Gordon's case, but regarding the use of interpreters, they told us, quote, "It is important to the department that we ensure everyone we interact with is treated with dignity and respect. That includes ensuring that the people we serve are able to communicate with us properly and accurately." I'm Heather Catallo, 7 Action News.
For a step-by-step look at Heather Catallo's years-long investigation, or for access to resources to help navigate the guardianship system, head to WXYZ.com.